New York, New York, a city so nice, they named it twice. And right now in New York City, the new mayor of New York, well, not so new anymore, Eric Adams, is leaving Citi Field, home of the New York Metropolitans, where he announced that the mandates in New York City that in order to work in New York City, you must be fully vaccinated. And it doesn't matter if you're indoors or outdoors, apparently, because we were talking about this quite a bit over the last week and a half. Everybody knows Kyrie Irving hasn't played a Nets home game this year because he is famously unvaccinated. That the Mets and Yankees unvaccinated players were in danger of not being allowed to play in their home games, even though they're outdoors.
What?
And it's apparent, based on the sound bites, that Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees, I guess he hasn't taken the jab.
I heard that.
And well, he hasn't confirmed or denied it, but he's talking in a way that he hasn't taken the jab. So the mayor of New York City just 2 days ago was talking about how these mandates weren't going to change. But as we know, COVID is right now, as we are talking and speaking to one another and you're listening or watching this show, right now, thank goodness, it is to the point where many places are relaxing restrictions. Could come back soon. This thing's not over. But in New York City, the mayor has lifted the restrictions on having to be fully vaccinated in order to work at a New York-based site and living in the metropolitan area, coming and commuting to do it. So this was the mayor announcing this at the home of the Mets. Should have done it at the Nets. I mean, that's the most, one would think, pertinent
yeah.
Location for this. But this is Eric Adams moments ago.
Today I signed Emergency Executive Order 62, expanding the performance exemption to private employer mandates. This is about putting New York City-based performers on a level playing field. Day one, when I was mayor, I looked at the rule that stated hometown players had an unfair disadvantage for those who were coming to visit. And immediately, I felt we needed to look at that. But my medical professionals say, Eric, we're at a different place. We have to wait until we're at a place where we're at a low area and we can re-examine some of the mandates. We're here today.
Okay. The medical folks are saying, and you're seeing everywhere that, COVID is right now in a spot where New York feels comfortable doing it. Why do I have a feeling opening day of baseball had something to do with this as well?
Yeah.
And
my man likes baseball and
I don't know.
basketball.
I don't think that's what it is. I just have a feeling the Yankees are well connected in a way that the Nets are not.
Yeah.
My spidey sense tells me something. Just look at the Yankees front office and who might be attuned to New York City politics. I just don't. Just throwing that out there. And I'm just hoping, again, that COVID stays where it is for so many reasons. You know how I feel about vaccinations?
Yeah.
I was literally the first person, fully vaccinated person, who had a breakthrough case that I personally knew of was me last July. That was way back in Delta. Now we got apparently a second version of Omicron coming around that might actually spike up and change the way we're all living again, or maybe force us to rethink the whole new normal and things like that. But now that New York has made this decision, now Kyrie's off the hook or off the needle or off the jab or whatever it is. And now the Nets get Kyrie back just in time for the playoffs for all games. And they're 38-35, eighth overall, a record born out of injuries, right? Durant being injured for a significant amount of time, born out of Harden not working out and getting traded, right? And working on a new lineup coming in. born out of Kyrie not taking the jab and not being home for a lot of home games and active. But they're all coming back now. And Simmons too, right?
Back? Who knows, man?
His back is the
I don't know,
key,
we'll see.
Thing there. But
We still got a good, 3 weeks before it all starts?
I don't think he's playing.
Well,
It's the same thing that
here
Rich,
come-
like, guys haven't played in a year. Like,
Here come the Brooklyn Nets. 8-seeded Brooklyn Nets. Right now in a play-in game with the Raptors. That's going to be a dynamite game, Raptors-Nets.
That Kyrie can't play in.
Well, because it's in Toronto.
Right.
Right.
So they need to hope they can pass Toronto.
I don't
here
think that's happening.
in the
They're two
next
and a half
3
out.
weeks.
They're 2.5. They're 2.5 behind.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, man. And then they get Kyrie back for the entirety of the playoffs. And by the way, if Kyrie can't play in a playoff game in Toronto, and they're in the playoff game, the play-in game, because partially he didn't take the jab this year.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, to be completely fair and honest, despite the way I feel about everything with the vaccine and mandates and things like that, positively ridiculous that Kyrie was at the Nets versus Knicks game in Madison Square Garden, physically there in the building, but couldn't play. I mean, it was getting to be positively absurd like that. And certainly with the way the medicine is on the ground. But look out for the Nets now. If they can get out of that play-in game, you can move your head back and forth over there, Mr. Celtic, but I wouldn't want to face him.
Yeah, I just think
I wouldn't want to face him at all.
It's kind of a bummer that it worked out this way. Like, he was just kind of a spoiled brat about this the whole time, and he eventually gets his way. And I don't think that's really fair.
Well, how about this? He eventually gets his way, but at least COVID is at the point where you don't feel like this is particularly, I wouldn't say, that this is the medicine and the boots on the ground and the way things appear to be right now in New York.
I totally get that. But for private citizens,
it makes it understandable.
For private citizens and workers in New York who have done the right thing,
Right.
quote unquote, every step of the way, and now to just be told, oh, hey, this guy who didn't, he's just going to get rewarded by going back to his job.
But that could also be the person down your hallway in the cubicle across the hallway from you too.
And I would think that would be frustrating for people at all jobs. And that this is so public, and he's done it in such a public manner, and we've been talking about it for months and months and months. I just think that's kind of frustrating.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.